This might be the easiest class I've ever taught. We're not going to go upside down. We're not going to do any backflips. No breakdancing at all. Just simple kind of Jiu-Jitsu 101. But it's one of those things that I kind of fell back into, having gotten my black belt and went through that whole purple belt do ninja shit phase, and then realized that Jiu-Jitsu is more about the simple stuff. And so it's going to be kind of simple, kind of bendy, but I think everyone can accomplish it, I'm pretty sure. We're just going to attack a couple different submissions from an overhook from closed guard and show you how I use it. Yeah, so I'm going to use Larissa because she looks awesome in her outfit today. Best looking outfit here, I checked. Yep. All right, so really quickly, go for your knees. I'll always set this up from closed guard, and I'm looking to get an overhook, which usually I can accomplish because people like underhooks. Yeah, so she goes for underhook. And I'm going to overhook so deep that my armpit's on top of her shoulder, okay? My hand's going to come all the way through, right here. So I don't lock my hands together. I just put my thumb kind of like in my cleavage, right? So it's right here, nice and tight. As she goes to pull away from me, it feels pretty tight, pretty snug, and I just play from this right here. If I drop my overhook down to her tricep, that feels completely different. Right? She has space to move a little bit. She can kind of start passing the guard. So I'm going to make sure I go nice and high, really high up on her shoulder, and I hold right here. Okay? So for first thing we're going to do is get this armpit deep grip. I'm going to move to one side. Just like this. I want to have my bottom leg flat on the mat, both feet on the hips. I always prefer feet on hips for all of my guards. All right, I think that if I move to an inside control guard, like a butterfly guard, it shortens the length of my legs, and my legs are already short, so I get more and more passable. If I extend the length of my legs to a closed guard, she gets a little too close to me, starts smashing into me. Okay, so we're gonna work from a nice tight overhook, start moving away, feet on the hips, and play right here. From here, let's just work a little bit. So I have her try to pass guard a little bit. I'm just gonna move. We'll see where it fails, where it works. And play from there. Right? Super simple, but let's get a baseline of there first. Cool? Let's do it. Ready? No, because I want you to bring your hips away from him and your head closer. So walk that move. That's what I want to do. Now take this look at the outside though. That's how you should be right there. Okay, great. So, a couple quick points. I want to think about leaving my chest towards my opponent and my hips farther away from them. Okay, so there's this thing in Jiu-Jitsu where, I may have mentioned it last class, but we have legs, most of us, and we have arms and a head, right? Those two things work well together, okay? If I want to clamp somebody with my right arm and my right leg, it doesn't work so well. Like buggy choke works, I guess, but like usually we clamp either with our legs or with our arms, okay? We have to separate jobs here. So if my upper body is clamping someone, my lower body can move, okay? If I relax my upper body and my lower body, I have no connection to somebody. If I clamp everything, then she can't move, but neither can I. Okay, so everything in Jiu-Jitsu is a product of clamping one of those sets of tools while the other one moves, and then moving back to like, I can go to like a leg clamp now, my arms can move. Okay, so, but I have to move in those stages. So always think about that. If your arms are clamps, they can't move. They clamp, your legs can move. If your legs are clamped, your arms can move, right? So if I have closed guard, my legs with a clamp, now my arms can do manipulations. Once I have a frozen point, now my arms are clamps, my legs can manipulate, right? But always in that order. All loss of connection is a scramble, and all connection is just a frozen spot, okay? So let's find our clamp. Understand that my upper body is my clamp, my lower body can move, right? If I separate my chest, I'm losing clamping from my upper body. I've lost clamp now, okay? So I have to clamp with my upper body, just move my lower body away. So I'm staying close to her with my upper body, my feet are not on the hips, and I'm in a much tighter position than if I extend my chest away and lose most of the arm, okay? So I really gotta understand like that's a really important principle in all of grappling. Once we have our position, we have our deep overhook, our feet are on the hips, this knee should be on top of my opponent, not below. It shouldn't be a knee shield. Right on top here, right? It's not a huge, I've pretty poor hip flexibility, I can still flare my knees wide enough for this movement, right? So make sure we're here. Here I can also add downward pressure from my top leg, almost like I'm going to Williams guard, right? So here's Williams guard. So it's very, very similar. So the first attack I do is triangles from here, okay? And it's a really easy setup. I'm just gonna grab wrist control, which is always there because she's trying to cross face me usually, or she's trying to fight this inner leg. All right, and I can grab the wrist. I have two ways of doing this. The first one is just kind of like a thread the needle, right? Just gonna stuff and step over, which works because my head stays close, my knee comes to my chest, right? We can almost all put our knee on our face, then we step over. The second way is I go to a thumb up grip, and I pass to this hand. All right, now I have both hands on one, and I can feed it through. All right, either way works just fine. The finish for this is rarely a strangle, right? So I use triangles as a position of dominance, not as a submission. Okay, so in my opinion, I think that it's the strongest position of dominance, some type of a triangle. All the submissions happen off of that. They're usually arm locks. Okay, so I have a nice tight overhook. I'm wrestling for this inside control arm. I can either skip the rope and kind of go through this way, or I can pass to this hand and come through again. Once I have my figure four, all I'm going to do is move my hand to my chest again and extend up through the arm bar. All right, and so my hand stays right where it is, and if she postures to kill the choke, happens again. All right, but you keep nice and tight to the overhook the whole time. So we're in close guard. All right, we're fighting for control. I get my overhook, come out. I fight the grip, catch it. Simple, right? Really easy stuff, but it's super important to know those basic concepts. So let's play with that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Ready?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so the arm bar is like super tricky to figure out where the arm is. Okay, like when we first went an arm bar, I can look at your hand. I can point your thumb to the ceiling and I can hip into it, right? With this one, I can't see where your hand is. I can't see, I'm not even touching your elbow. So it's really important that I understand where you are all the time. I can do that with my body. Okay, so I'm gonna use my armpit, I'm gonna use my lat, and my hip to knee or hip to elbow connection to create that forward rotation of your elbow. I'm looking to try to see your ditch, right? I wanna see the inner part of your elbow. That's how I know I'm in the right alignment. So if I have this, all right, I have to go, right now I can't armbar her by hipping up. If I hip up, it goes to a bent arm, okay? So I have to change the angle. All right, I can't see her hand. I can barely see her elbow, but I understand how her body feels against mine, okay? If I'm too deep, I can't armbar her. All right, so I have to give her either space to where in this scenario, I know where her arm is. I can feel that it's bent around my back, almost like she's like gonna be able to hug me. So if I go straight to the ceiling, I'll never get a break, okay? So I'm gonna bring my knee to the mat and come this way. Now I found the right place, okay? So I have to be good enough to feel with my armpit, all right, which is pretty challenging. If I go up and the arm gets too loose, well, I'll just go to a triangle, all right? There's nothing bad that happens from this. Even in this scenario, I'm not gonna strangle, almost ever. It's a lot of work to strangle somebody, all right? And so if the choke is there, I'll do it, but more often than not, I'm gonna move to an inside position, my triangle, and then arm lock from here. All right, this is probably the worst break you can ever do to somebody in jiu-jitsu. This is really powerful, and this is where I get most of my submissions from. It's an Americana, that's all it is. But the amount of pressure I have here is really powerful. And for a small guy versus a big person like Larissa, I can have tons of control over her posture. Right? If I look at how like a regular triangle works, the lock is over her right shoulder. I have nothing controlling the top of her head except for my arms. All right, so it's pretty easy for her to create posture from here and start breaking down and getting this elbow line back across. If I switch to this kind of limp knee position, now my top leg's on the back of her head, and it's really hard for her to create posture from here. So I find a lot more success with this position of a triangle. The strangle becomes less effective, but the arm lock becomes devastating. Typically, people go hand to hand to defend here, and I know I can bring myself to her arms, and I'll always win this battle. All right? So we have our overhook. Remember, if I have commitment on my left side, then my right leg has to maintain commitment also. Okay? If she passes over the right leg, this becomes a Kimura for her. Let's go over to the head mount. Pass on the head. Yeah? So it's really important to understand the importance of this leg. I have to maintain the symmetry by having clamp and control on this hip. So I'll hug it nice and tight, make sure I'm tracing it the whole time. Catch the hand, step over, hit my triangle. Plan A is going to be just to find the elbow line and create my break, right? If she pulls her arm out, I pass it over and I drop to the inside position. Okay? From here, I want to put her elbow on my hip. I never bring her hand to my chest. I walk my head down to her arm, that I can break the grip with my hip pressure, not my arm strength. From here, all I'm going to do is hip in. I'm going to try and keep her elbow on the mat and move to this Americana position. You'll see that here's a tap. I have all of that space. I can continue to break that far. Okay, so it's really, really nasty. So one more time. Sense? Try your best to keep your right side of your body on the mat the whole time. All right. I don't want to finish this up here. I want to be here. Make sense? Let's do that one. Ready? Thank you. So some really good questions, right? My jiu-jitsu is rarely a product of me forcing you to do anything you don't want to do. All right, so if you've rolled with me today or all week, I'm pretty mellow until I'm trying to kill you. And then when I find something worth pursuing, then I pursue it aggressively. Yeah. And so I don't bait people to do anything. I don't really force you to do anything you don't want to do. I think it's my job as a grappler to have a bad option for everything you do. All right. I love when I'm rolling and someone gives me this look that says everything I do is wrong. That's my goal. Right. It's embarrassing. So, but there are a few positions that I can make happen. And I think that with an overhook, I can almost make an overhook happen. Right? There's almost always a scenario in which I get to here. Right? Once I have my overhook, now I absolutely can make space. I can always make space. I don't want to be here. I want to get away a little bit. Okay? So, what she did was perfect right here for the next submission. Right? Once the elbow drops to the inside of my stomach, we're back into that same Americana position. Okay? So all I have to do once I have this is called a mirror lock. I'm going to drive with my feet and bring her elbow up. Always do that. Always, whenever I talk, always go, oh shit. So here's the nuance, right? I can make this happen by driving my elbow from my left side of my body to my right hip. Right now, I'm putting pressure in that direction, but my leg and my hip is in the way. If I shrimp and move my hip out of the way, the downward pressure will always drop her elbow to my belly button. Once it's trapped, I have the lapel if I'm wearing a gi. If not, I just kind of do this, right? It's gonna stay there. Put your arm back straight. Nope, she can't. Pull it all the way out. Nope, she can't. Yeah, and so all I'm gonna do here is just add that same hip pressure. My elbow is on my hip, kind of in my groin, and I use my hips to drive forward and just extend it away. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Right? So I can do this with all the exact same control I already had. I'm looking over here. She knows I want to fight this arm. She's defending it well. So I attack the inside arm. All right? And it's a quick little movement. It's really hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's tricky to figure out what the shape of the arm is supposed to be, so you have to play with it a lot. But I've learned that if I relax my left arm, and I move, and then I put it back together, it doesn't work as well, okay? So I'm thinking about trying to push her arm through my body. That way it's already loaded. It's like I have a rubber band from my elbow to my hip, always, yeah? So I'm fighting here. I'm gonna move my hips away from her until I feel her tricep on my ribs, and then I come back in. And now it's trapped, okay? From here, this foot just drives, and I start turning her to like a belly up position. The really cool thing is posture defends this. So if she postures up, I can usually get my triangle again, or I can use my arm bar, or all kinds of cool stuff. But this will be the most challenging submission we do, and it's so simple. And I think sometimes the simplest submissions that are nuanced become the hardest to actually implement, because you have to really be careful of how your movement looks. Okay? If she moves to a limp arm position, go that way. Then I'll go to an arm drag. I can't do that from here, okay? But if she tries to get her arm out that way, go ahead. I go to an arm drag. So this only is if she has like a hug grip on me, like that, which most people do with an underhook. Doesn't matter how tight she holds me or how deep the underhook is. Once I move to here, I hip, trap, and I bring it back in. And there's my submission. I don't have to grab anything here, but a lapel is rad. If I get a lapel, it's really good. All right? I can even step back over the top. And now we're in that same kind of figure four triangle position that I can add my pressure in. So lots of cool options from here. This is one that I'll also do from standing. And so this exact same thing happens if we're on our feet and she gets an underhook. All right? Oh. And now if I have a lapel, it's here. Sorry.
It's okay.
Right? But the nice thing is I get her on her tippy toes, and then foot sweeps are really nasty. All right? So it's the same thing. We're just going to be, good job being an uki. What a terrible choice. All right? So now it's the exact same grip. All right? But this is really nasty. This is kind of like the old like military weird arm bar holds they'd walk people, like walk prisoners with. Yeah. But it's just really fun just to kind of, look at her dancing. It's hilarious. Yeah? So. Sorry. So overhook, hip out, right? Looking for the fight over here. She's thinking about her left arm a lot. I move, trap the inside arm, add our hip pressure. All right. Awesome.
We love it.
We good? Let's try that one. Ready? A couple key points, right? And this is my kind of go-to reaction for all submissions, right? I never want to add tension to a submission until the position is correct, all right? If I have a guillotine and the arm is not deep enough and I squeeze, it's really hard to adjust the grip with a clench. So I have to be like a loose noodle until it's time to kill, okay? So if I'm struggling to get my overhook arm all the way over to her collarbone, I have to relax and move myself in here first. So I crunch up nice and tight. If I do this, I take up all the slack in the submission, okay? If I separate my body from her body in any submission, it weakens the position, okay? So my goal is always to finish a submission with the smallest amount of movement possible. So I have to get in tight and control all the space. That way when I go to apply the submission, it comes on quickly. If I have to get myself all the way out to here, the odds of me finishing this are very low, right? So if I'm being submitted, I want to create distance. If I'm submitting, I want to close distance always. So make sure if I submit somebody, lay on your back. If I'm arm barring someone, if her hand falls down to my belly, I'm getting farther away from her to finish this arm bar, right? This is shit. So I like to keep myself as close as possible to somebody. That way there's less opportunity to escape, right? It's simple, but we often forget about that. So Kimura, same idea, right to the edge. All right, if I'm up here, this is a terrible Kimura, all right? This is awful. This is how she's gonna armbar me, okay? I wanna be down nice and low and pike. Same idea here. Be close to your opponent. If you can't get close, you're probably too tight. You should loosen up the position, readjust yourself, and then add tension when it's time to break. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, good. So, Again, all of these scenarios are basically controlled by her, right? I have my overhook, I force this to happen. I move my feet to the hips, I force this to happen. Now I'm very patient, right? The way that she hand fights with her left hand dictates if I triangle or not, right? If her left hand comes in contact with my left hand, I will always triangle. If I can push her left hand far away from her, I'll always triangle. If she decides just to pressure up from here, try to pull her arm out, I can armbar here, right? If she tries to pull her arm out that direction, that's when I go to the Americana, right? If I look to pull her arm out and she leaves it straight, right? I'm gonna come over top. So our goal should always be to have a hub of jiu-jitsu with spokes coming out of it, right? A hub is a position I can force. I can absolutely force closed guard in most scenarios, right? I have hubs, I have spokes that come out of that hub that allow me a submission or a sweep or a positive transition based off of all of their reactions. And I don't dictate how they react, right? Nothing is based on her making a mistake. She can do everything correct, and it's my job to have an answer for all those correct movements, yeah? So that arm bar is the last one we're gonna do. It's just an overhook. All right. I go to push her away, but she keeps her arm straight. I come underneath. I go shin to the back of the head, both knees to the mat. I have to find the elbow. I lost it on this one, okay? I can still maintain an arm bar, but I have to continue the rotation and fix it there, okay? So we can chase this if we mess it up. It's not a big deal. But I'm looking for her to get to that straight arm position. I pushed her away. I found it. Now I found it again. Now I'm in a good spot. My hand stays overhook. I'm just gonna keep walking myself over. Okay? I can come all the way to a hip if I keep the arm. I lost her arm, so I can't go any farther. I have to go back, find it again. Right? It's really important we start having fingers all over our body. Right? When we first start grappling, we only have hands. We can feel very, very good tactile response from our fingers. That's what we do as humans. But our feet are not very good at that. Right? Then our feet get better at it, and then our armpits get better at it, and then our elbows get better at it, and all of a sudden we can really predict where somebody's body alignment is based on how they feel. We have to learn that idea in jiu-jitsu because you can never see things, right? Or we can rarely see things. You've got to get good at that tactile response. So, same idea. Overhook. We're out here. We're playing from here. I have step over triangle, wrist control triangle, wrist control triangle armbar, right? Inside control, pass the arm over, that crazy Americana break. We have the inside Americana. She keeps her arm straight. I step over, we go belly down armbar. So all good options from the same exact overhook position. You guys can try the armbar. You guys can do the very beginning stuff. You can ask me a bunch of questions. We have like 10 minutes to work it, right? I'd like to see you guys work it to failure, okay? I want to see if our training partner with moderate resistance, meaning they're actively exploiting giant flaws, do that. I don't mean the training partner should completely defend. I'm saying that if I make some huge error, she should say, hey, you fucked that way up, all right? And like make me pay for it, we reset, we go again. Yeah, so exploit giant weaknesses, don't create small weaknesses. Make sense? Let's do this, ready? All right, who's the All right, do you have any questions? Good. I don't want to answer them anyway. No, you guys can come by me. I promise you, if we roll, I will try to do this to you.
Okay.
This is what I do. It's just, I mean, this has become a huge aspect of my game. I find it to be, as a smaller person, a really powerful submission chain that I can almost always create. I have found that most people, if they defend the first or second attack from there, what happens is they become very hesitant to underhook whilst passing. And it's very hard to pass guard without underhooking, right? And so if I can take a tool that you need to pass my guard and make it a bad thing for you, then I've increased my guard retention immediately, right? And so make their good things bad for them, and you're going to win. So it's much like the guys who are really good at buggy chokes. It gets scary to pass their guard. Because now this giant component of jiu-jitsu becomes threatening to you, right? And so that's always my goal. So much so that if I have a person who is very afraid of my guard, which happens a lot, if you have a very active guard, the person guard passing becomes hesitant to engage with you, I will let them pass my guard to accomplish the same thing. So I use what we call a hollow hook. I'm not going to demonstrate it, but it's so effective for me to use the overhook that I'll let Larissa pass my guard because now she gives me the overhook, and now I'm looking to go like dry dock, both knees down. I'll get my guard back, just so I have what I needed. Right, so I accomplish what I needed backwards. I get the overhook first, and then I come back and get my guard back using the overhook. So it's become a really effective game for me, especially in the gi. I primarily train no gi, but I still teach gi twice a week. And with the gi, I can get the grips. I find it to be really, really devastating from there. But it's a very simple concept that goes back to like Gracie 101 of getting that overhook. We just added a little bit of monkey jiu-jitsu into it. And if you have a hard time moving your legs around, just move your hips farther away from your opponent. So it's all about, it's never about moving Larissa around. It's about me moving myself to accommodate the position I'm trying to accomplish, right? So always think about that. You can almost always move yourself, right? You can really move somebody else who doesn't want to be moved. So just find an anchor point. Remember those kind of concepts of clamping with your arms, using your legs to move, or vice versa, and then seek out your submissions from your positive submission hubs. Cool?
Cool.
You will make everyone mad at you. Can we get a photograph?
Yeah. Okay.
I would like that. Thank you guys.